Department of Computer Engineering and Information Technology. Semester 5th. Subject Operating System. Chapter number 4. CPU Schedulings and Algorithms. The remaining topics of scheduling algorithms. Part 2. A process scheduler schedules the different processes to be assigned to the CPU based on a particular scheduling algorithms. There are 6 popular process scheduling algorithms. Which are going to discuss in this video. In previous video, we discussed about the first come first serve scheduling, shortest job scheduling. Now, in this video, we are going to discuss the round robin scheduling. The round robin scheduling is the preemptive process scheduling algorithm. The preemptive scheduling is based on the priority, where schedulers may preempt a low priority running process anytime when a high priority process enters into a ready state. Round robin is the preemptive processing scheduling algorithm. The RR scheduling algorithms is designed especially for the time sharing system. Round robin scheduling is similar to FCFS scheduling except that CPU bursts are assigned with a limit called time quantum. Each process is provided a fixed time to execute. It is called a quantum. When a process is given the CPU, a timer is set for whatever value has been set for a time quantum. And if the process finish is burst before the time quantum's timer expires, then it is swapped out of the CPU just like the normal FCFS algorithms. Once a process is executed for a given time period, it is preempted and other process executes for a given time period. So the given time, the ready queue is maintained as a circular queue. So when all the processes have had a turn, then the scheduler gives the process another turn and so on. RR scheduling can give the effect of all processes sharing the CPU equally, although the average wait time can be longer than with the scheduling algorithms. The average time is calculated for the schedule. The process and burst times are given here. The P1, P2, P3. 3 processes are waiting for execution and burst time is 2433. Here, these are the example of 3 processes and the time quantums are given is the 4. So, The P1 stage is required. The time quantum is 4. So that's why 24 minus 4. Then the 4 is 0, 0 start from the 0 and executed after the execution the given timing for the 4. So the P1 is required for the 4 milliseconds time, and after that the next process is waiting for executions after the completions of the P1, and whenever P1 is completed, after that the P2 is ready to the executions, and these are taking the time quantums is the 4. So the P2 is required, the burst time is the 3. So the 4 plus 3 is there, 7 is there, and P2 is taking the time 7 milliseconds for the execution, and after the completions of the P2, the P3 is going for the executions, and P3 is required for the also burst time is the 3. So 7 plus 3 is the 10, and after the remaining process is the P1 burst time is the 24. So that's why the only 4 times 4 milliseconds are executed. After that the remaining burst times is in RR scheduling algorithms, no process is allocated the CPU for more than one time quantum in a row unless it is the only runnable process. If a process CPU burst exceeds a one time quantum, that process is preempted and is put back in the ready queue. The RR scheduling algorithms is thus the preemptive. The performance of RR is sensitive to the time quantum selected. If the quantum is large enough, then RR reduced to the FCFS algorithms. If it is very small, then each process gets 1 month of the processor time and the share the CPU equally. But a real system invokes an overhead for every context switch, and the smaller time quantum, the more context switches there are. Turnaround time also depends on the size of the time quantum. In general, turnaround time. Here, each process gets a small unit of CPU time, the time quantums. Usually, 10 to 100 milliseconds after these times has elapsed, the process is preempted and added to the end of the ready queue. If there are n processes in the ready queue and the time quantums is q, then each process gains 1 of n of the CPU times in chance of at most q time units at once. No process waits more than n minus 1 of q time units. The way in which the smaller times quantum increases the context switches. A rule of thumb is that 80% of the CPU burst should be shorter than the time quantum. Advantages. The first is the jobs get fair share of CPU. Second, shortest jobs finish relatively quickly. Some disadvantages regarding this topic. The first is the poor average waiting time with a similar job length. For example, 10 jobs each requires 10 time slice. and round robin all complete after about 100 time slice, and FCFS performs is the better. And there are the four processes are given for the execution, as well as the also given the arrival times and the service time. Service times is 8495 is the respective process 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the process P1, P2, P3 and P4, the time quantums is given is the 20, and the burst times is also given the 53 for the P1, 17 for P2, 68 for P3 and the 24 for the P4. And after using the round robins algorithm, the quantum is the time quantums are the given the 4 milliseconds, and the P1, P2, P3. After that P4 and the P1, the remainings are executed the P1, P3, P4, P3 like this. Now after this Gantt chart, the average weights time are calculated the 20 minus 0, because the P1 execution times is the 20, and after that the P1 is given in the 2 times, so the 20 minus 0 is plus 8 minus 1. These are belong to the P2, the process 2, and the process 2 is given for they only 1 times are there, so the P2 is 8 minus 1, then plus 26 for the P3, and P3 is executed in 3 times, so the 26, 24, 26, so the 26 minus 2, then 25 minus 3 is 4, P4, and the average waiting time you have to in previous slide we have the solve the problems using the round robins algorithm. So here the practice problems are given here. There are the 6 processes there, P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, 6. Then arrival times and burst times are also given here. Then student solve these problems here. Now I am waiting for the answer, so that's why I know you have already taken your rough notebook, pen and etc. So solve the questions immediately. After solving these problems, we are going to the next slide. Can you solve this? Please check your steps. The queue is the P4, P5, P3, P2, P4, P1, P6, P3, P2, P4, P1, P3. So CPU idles is there. The Gantt charts here 0 to 1. First steps is the P4. So that's why the time quantums are also given the 4. Four is given here, 3 is given. Okay, 3 is given there. So next thing, the multi-level queue scheduling. When a process can be really categorized, then multiple separate queues can be established, each implementing whatever the scheduling algorithms is most appropriate for that type of a job and or with a different parametric adjustment. Scheduling must also be done between the queues, that is scheduling one queue to get time relative to other queues. Two common options are strict priority no job in a lower priority queue runs until all higher priority queues are empty, and round robins each queue gets a time slice in turn, possibly of different size. Under these algorithms, jobs cannot switch from queue to queue. Once they are assigned a queue, that is their queue until they finish. A multi-level queue is scheduling based on the response time requirements. Some process require a queue response by the processor. Some processes can wait. A multi-level queue scheduling algorithm partitions the ready queue into separate queues. In a multi-level queue scheduling, processes are permanently assigned to one queue depending upon their properties such as the size of the memory or the type of the process or the priority of a processes. So each queue follows a separate scheduling algorithms. In a multi-level queue scheduling algorithm, scheduling the processes are classified into different groups such as the system processes, interactive processes, interactive editing processes, and the batch processes, user processes, etc. Interactive processes are known as the foreground processes, and the batch processes are known as the background processes. These two types of the processes have the different response time requirements and so may have the different scheduling needs. In addition, the foreground processes may have priority externally defined over background processes. A multi-level queue scheduling algorithms partitions the ready queue. The multi-level feedback queue scheduling. The multi-level feedback queue scheduling is similar to the ordinary. The multi-level queue scheduling described above, except jobs may be moved from one queue to another for a variety of reasons. If the characteristics of a job change between the CPU intensive and input-output intensive, then it may be appropriate to switch a job from one queue to another. Aging can also be incorporated so that a job that has waited for a long time can get a bump up into a higher priority queue for a while. Multi-level feedback queue scheduling is the most flexible because it can be tuned for any situations. But it is also the most complex to implement because of all the existable parameters. Some of the parameters which define one of these systems include the number of queues. Here, for instance, the foreground and background queue are there. A figure shows that each queue has the absolute priority over the lower priority queues. No process in the batches, interactive editing processes were all empty. If an interactive editing process entered the ready queue while a batch process was running, the batch process would be preempted. Another possibility is to time slice among the queue. Here, Each queue gets a certain portions of the CPU time, which it can be then the schedules among its various processes. For instance, in the system, the multi-level feedback queue, also known as the multi-level adaptive scheduling, is an improved version of a multi-level queue scheduling algorithm. In multi-level queue scheduling, processes cannot move from one queue to another because the processes do not change. They are the foreground or the background nature. But in multi-level feedback queue schedules, processes are not permanently assigned to a queue on entry to the system. Here, there the quantum is equal to 8, quantum is equal to 16, and the FCFS is there. So there the multiple stages are given here. Instead they are allowed to move between the queues. The idea is to separate the processes with a different CPU burst characteristics. If a process uses much CPU times, and it will be moved to a lower priority queue. This form of the edging prevents the transversion. Indeed, the number of queues are there, scheduling algorithm for each queue. The method used to determine when to upgrade a process to a higher priority as well as is defined to the lower priority queue, and the method used to determine which queue a process will enter when that process needs the service. There are the three queues are there, the Q0, Q1 and Q2. Q0 is the RR with the time quantum 8 millisecond. The RR times quantum is the 16 millisecond. Next is the proportional share scheduling. The proportional share scheduling works by dividing the total amount of time available up to an equal number of shares, and then each process must request a certain share of the total when it tries to start. Assume that a total of T is equal to 100 share is to be divided among three processes A, B and C. A is assigned to the 50 shares, and B is assigned the 15 shares, and C is assigned to the 20 shares. These schemes ensure that A will have the 50% of total processor time, B will have 15% and C will have 20%. Proportional share scheduling works with an admissions control policy, not starting any task if it cannot guarantee the shares that the task says that it needs. If new process it requested the 30 shares, the 100 minus. Thank you.